wasn't really made that well. They basically put it on to promote the game, have like a beta of it, and to get people interested, get people playing, buying DLC for like weapon packs or the character packs they had. I'll talk about this in Mass Effect 3 video about the multiplayer in more detail. But the multiplayer, they incorporated the Galaxy at War, I think it's called. They incorporated that aspect into it, and I thought it was really sort of badly done, as I didn't play any of the multiplayer until after I finished the game, and maybe it would have given me the achievement to get the Galactic Readiness or something. But to me, it didn't matter. None of the stuff that happened and to people I spoke to as well, none of the things that happen in the multiplayer have any bearing on the single player. And I know in some games it's different. Like, I'm trying to think of an example now. Let's say Halo. So the story. So Halo 3 will go on. You had the story for that, which was pretty good. It was okay. It wasn't the best, but then you had the multiplayer, which was quite fun. No, we'll talk about Halo Reach actually, because I prefer Reach. Story wasn't that good. I enjoyed it. It was good. It was fun. There were some aspects of it that was quite good. But the multiplayer was really good. I absolutely loved the multiplayer, and it didn't have any bearing or any correlation to the single player, but it was still really fun. Whereas Mass Effect 3, the multiplayer is not that good. It's basically essentially like a Horde mode, which they've copied from Gears of War Horde and Halo Firefight, which I'm not really sure which one's first. I'll have to do more research on that, because I always thought it was Gears of War first, but then someone told me about Halo ODST being first. There's probably another game that came before that as well, and then there's obviously Black Ops Zombies has copied them as well, which I'll talk about in a sort of a general video explaining what my theory is on this Call of Duty FPSization of games, and the video game industry essentially. But in Mass Effect 3, they basically, that multiplayer was just a Horde mode. I always call it Horde mode, because first time I played through that kind of mode was in Gears of War 2. So this Horde mode was there's okay. The Horde modes, they're sometimes can be quite fun if you're playing with friends. And they're quite difficult for playing your own, but I don't think you can play on your own on. You could play on your own on Mass Effect, which was quite annoying actually, because I played through Horde on Gears of War 2 a lot on my own, and it was really fun, just like stuck in like a little room with enemies coming in and mortars firing down on me. But the Mass Effect 3 one that was it, and there was no PvP multiplayer, which is a really good way of increasing the longevity of a game, and also a promotion and a beta gameplay and things like that. And they could have done that, but it's almost obvious that they stuck that on afterwards to just make more money, keep the franchise going a bit longer, to get the money off from the DLC and things like that. So from all this, we can see that the Mass Effect series is going to go in a direction that's not as good as the actual main series of Mass Effect. Now, good, there isn't really. It's hard to talk about this without having examples of previous things. So one that might count as an example would be Gears of War. How Gears of War 1 to 3 had a similar sort of progression from each game, but the new Gears of War Judgment, I haven't played it yet, but I'm not sure if it's out now or not, but I've looked at the trailer and some gameplay images and stuff like that, and it's not actually that good. Well, it might be. The story might be okay. The story might be pretty good actually, but it doesn't take the series away from the original concept of the game. Now there was news in the pipeline about on rails Gears FPS, essentially like the old school arcade House of the Dead stuff, or Time Crisis I guess as well. But and that would have been an interesting route to go. But it would have been a niche market for people with, I guess, essentially Kinect, PlayStation Move, and the Wii and other, I guess, Wii U, whatever the new stuff's called. I haven't really followed that recently. So Mass Effect, I'm assuming Mass Effect will go on a similar route. Now, it's not going to surprise me if BioWare come up with a Mass Effect game that is an FPS about some random soldier on Earth or something. That's probably quite likely, actually. They might do something about how Aria became the essentially matriarch of Omega. They might talk about something in the Citadel, or collectors, or Saren using the novels, or random spectres, which they're probably actually going to have like a Spectre Spec Ops mode or something eventually. But the main thing to take away from this is that they're not going to improve the series that much, and they're not going to have a Mass Effect. It's going to be a Mass Effect 4, whatever game it is. If it's going to have similarities, as in if it's not going to be a real-time strategy game or an MMO, maybe they could do that. They've done that with the Star Wars Old Republic. If it's not one of those games or a platformer game, so it's probably going to be a third-person shooter RPG, or probably a first-person shooter RPG. If they go that route, it's going to pretty much be called Mass Effect 4, which they're trying to avoid saying that, and they try to end Shepard's story encapsulated in those 3 games. There was a little bit about at the end though. There's this character. I don't know. These 2 characters talking. I think it's like the grandfather and grandson talking, maybe. And he's talking about the story of the Shepard, which is obviously Commander Shepard from the games. But the interesting thing is, he says that there's another story for another time or something like that, and on some endings, Shepard's alive. So they probably will actually end up releasing a game that has another story of Shepard. I'm not sure what. I'm not sure. It might be a prequel, or like to do with one of the events that you choose as your background, or it could be afterwards. Maybe there's not much afterwards. There's just like, it wouldn't be a major story. There may be a rogue Spectre like Salmon again, who finds some kind of what are they called again? Protheans maybe. I get them mixed up with the Forerunners and the Prometheans, or whatever they're called. Protheans. There might be a story about somebody finding Prothean or more Protheans being alive, which would be Protheans being alive would be quite interesting. Or if they had Protheans fighting the Reapers, that would be quite fun actually as well. But it's still possible for them to use Shepard, and that's because he's such an important character, like Master Chief or Marcus Phoenix, for example. They could stick with him to make the money and continue the series in that way, similar to how they've got Cole, I think, maybe, well, definitely Baird at least, and maybe Cole. I'm not sure, because they changed the graphic from Gears of War 2 to Gears of War 3, and then it looks a bit like Cole. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. But basically, they've got those characters. They're not the main characters, but they've been throughout the whole series, and they're going to probably, the way they've done that is that they haven't used Marcus and his story, or the story of the whole world. They've used this small story about Baird's history. They could have used a story about Marcus when he went to save his dad, but that was sort of shown in the third game at the beginning, in the sort of dream sequence. But if they continue it, they'll use Shepard or one of these other characters that have been seen in the series. Maybe what's his name, Garrus, or Jacob, one of these people, or James, but he was in a story. I'm not sure it was a book or a comic or some kind of cartoon or something, but they used him basically in the story. They could use another character or the Shepard to essentially continue the series, make a lot of money, and basically ruin the franchise, make the franchise, well, not, it's already sort of ruined, make it worse than it has, take the franchise to newer lows than it has been before. They could make it do really good things with it though. They could go back to the roots and have a prequel based on the first game, with improve things. They could speak to fans about how they're going to, what they want, fans want from a Mass Effect game. Essentially, they could have a good multiplayer, which would essentially be a first-person shooter multiplayer. But if they don't have that as the main selling point of the game, they have it as a extra feature. Essentially, they have one of those. They have a horde mode, and what I really like is in Gears of War. Sorry, not Gears of War. In Halo, the Forge mode and a theatre mode as well. But those two, if they have those in and a good campaign, then that'd be a good, nice, complete package. Similar to why I talked about Halo Reach earlier, it's my favourite Halo game, at least, because it was a complete package essentially. Had a brilliant multiplayer, really good Forge mode, a theatre mode, Firefight mode, which was not that good. It's okay the first couple of minutes, I guess, playing until you get all the achievements. It runs out of intrigue. I had a decent story, but I'll talk about that in a different game. I'll talk about that in a different video. But Mass Effect can do a complete sort of package about that. And it would be interesting to do that. See, I've gone over by quite a bit actually. So we're almost at the end. We're pretty much at the end now. So this progression, we can see how we can use this and other games, franchises, to see how to look at the future titles as things. Also looking at the company, they made Dragon Age, which was not very good. They improved on that with Mass Effect. They made Old Republic, which was essentially a flop at the end. In the end, it got quite a lot of positive reviews. Then it sort of petered out a bit, repetitive, not very good. And then they've got Mass Effect, which has been known to be one of the best RPGs in the modern era in terms of first-person shooter. Well, sorry, in terms of a sci-fi shooter, essentially. Now, they could make it more an RPG element, with more customization, not just having a set character be whoever you want. They could have a different genre. I don't think they could do platform that well, but you never know. So it's sort of a prediction, I guess. I'm predicting / theorizing using previous evidence and examples that they're going to go in a similar route to Gears of War, with Gears of War Judgment, and also with Call of Duty, which will be a first-person shooter with a lot of good multiplayer. Maybe not even good multiplayer, maybe just so intense on the multiplayer that would take away from anything else. They might have a multiplayer-only game. The point is, it's not going to be, unless they do something completely different or have a complete package of a game like Halo Reach, it's not going to be better than the previous games. So that's it. That's all for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Remember to like the video, like I said, comment, and also subscribe. I'll see you next time, where we'll be talking about Mass Effect 3, my review a year on, going from progression from the first game, progression from the beginning of the story to the final one, talking about the ending. Try and avoid talking about the ending. I'll mention it, I'll talk about it, won't go into detail like everyone else has because everyone's heard about it. So that'll be the next video. Also be talking about my theory as a whole on the Call of Duty FPSization of games. And so stay tuned for those. We'll see you next time on the next Pedagog's video, essentially. Yep, goodbye.